Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Dialogue. I'm your host, Khalid. And our topic of discussion, as has been in the previous days, is the situation in Indian occupied Kashmir. Today is day 26. On the 5th of August this year, India abrogated the Article 370, which gave the people of Indian occupied Kashmir rights, and he has abrogated these rights, and since then there is a continuous curfew in the Indian occupied Kashmir region. People do not have access to food, people do not have access to hospitals and other requirements that they might have. On top of that, we hear of people being arrested, more than 10,000 people who've been arrested since the 5th of August. We've heard of tortures, we've heard of international media who have cited people from the Indian occupied Kashmir region, including the BBC, that recently talked about what happened to people in Indian occupied Kashmir when they were tortured, when they were given electric shocks, when their mouths were fed with mud so that people could not hear their hues and cries while they were being tortured. Such is the situation in Indian occupied Kashmir. Pakistan has been raising this issue nationally and internationally since it happened. We have talked to different leaders of the world. Our Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi has talked to different foreign ministers of the countries, and today was another special day because Prime Minister Imran Khan in his last speech had announced that the Pakistani nation once a week will observe the Kashmir Hour. Today was the first of those days between 12 noon and 12:30 p.m. All of the Pakistani nation observed the Kashmir Hour. They came out on the streets and observed solidarity with the hapless people, the innocent people of Indian occupied Kashmir who are being subjugated to torture, who've been subjugated to aggression by the Narendra Modi-led government. Pakistan has talked also on different fora such as the United Nations that convened a special council's meeting recently, a closed-door meeting, and our Prime Minister has also said that on the 27th of September he is also going to forcefully address the issue of the plight of the innocent Kashmiris of Indian occupied Kashmir in front of the entire world body. How much of the world and the world nations have really reacted to this situation in Indian occupied Kashmir? Do they understand it? If they do, why haven't they reacted as much as they should have compared to other atrocities when they happen in other parts of the world? We've been joined to talk about that and more by our foreign affairs expert, Mohammad. Sheraz, thank you very much, Sheraz, to have joined us. I gave a kind of small intro on what has been happening in the last 25 days or so. Today is the day 26 since the people of Indian occupied Kashmir are under this aggression by the Modi-led government. What is this going to lead to? Because our Prime Minister has said that this will, and if it continues in the same vein, it might lead to even aggression of a more nuclear nature.
Well, the possibilities are there. We definitely cannot deny the fact. The aggression which is being, exercised by the Modi regime has definitely, put a question mark on the stability and security now of not only the region but of the globe as well. As the Prime Minister in his article today
yes,
in
the
New York Times, he very clearly mentioned the fact that the world should wake up to what is happening in South Asia, especially in Kashmir, before it's too late, because it's not something which will only impact and affect the people living in the subcontinental region. It will have global implications. So yes, there are chances, and the way the kind of aggression being exercised by India on the LOC, the line of control, is then again very clear from the fact that they want to take it to another level. They want to divert the attention of the international community from what they are the kind of human rights violations and atrocities which they are committing in Indian-held Kashmir. They want to divert their attention on the one end, obviously, but on the other end, we also have to see what the Indians are thinking at the moment. So I was talking about the same topic on Radio Pakistan earlier, and I was of the opinion that Mr. Gandhi and Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru was afraid of the same kind of mentality that already prevailed in India, because RSS was banned for 3 years, if I'm not wrong, after the murder of
the RSS began in
Gandhi.
1925, and the BJP came quite late, but the RSS has been always there.
So the ideology is the same. So that's what the trigger point over here is. So if we have to see, so that ideology is taken down and will take down what Mr. Gandhi had an image of India, or whatever Jawaharlal Nehru thought about India to become. So India is now moving towards, as very rightly pinpointed by the Prime Minister of Pakistan, a more of a Nazi state, a more of a
fascist
state. So these are the kind of circumstances which obviously raise questions and eyebrows, especially in Pakistan, because if India, keeps on trying and testing this nuclear threshold, there is a limit to it. And we have seen the earlier incident where India violated Pakistan's airspace.
Pulwama, following the Pulwama incident.
Exactly, following the Pulwama incident. So that was the first thing they did. That was like, they pushed the ball in Pakistan's court, and Pakistan responded, with 3 times the response equivalent to what India did. That was the first instance that India, Modi regime, tested Pakistani nerves. That was the first time. And in one of your programs earlier on, I was of the opinion we have to see during the Indian election. I mentioned at that time that it's not possible that the Modi government will remain calm, because there were clear indicators that they will have the government. There was a debate regarding whether it's going to be a majority government or a shared government. So even in those circumstances, I was of the opinion, and I shared it on your program probably, that if they come in majority, they will challenge Pakistan in Indian occupied Kashmir. And if they don't, they will directly threaten the peace and stability of the region by engaging Pakistan into another Pulwama kind of attack.
That is what their policy has always been, hasn't it?
It has been, but this time it is different.
Comes back with a stronger force.
It never happened in the past 70 years, what they did this time, the curfew, 26 days of curfew.
Yes.
And then again, it's such a blatant and inhumane and barbaric step by any state, be it, let it be authoritarian as well. That the international community, when I say international community, the international media and the people in the Western world have started, questioning. Even the people in India themselves have started questioning where
But all those
Mr.
voices
Modi
are being muted, Sheraz, to be very frank, whether it be Rahul Gandhi, Mehbooba Mufti, or other people who want to talk about sanity to prevail in the country are being muted, are being, targeted one way or the other.
21st century, you can hold it for some time. But I don't think so. There are bigger powers, much bigger powers, who have given everything to control this flow of information, even in the 21st century. But I don't think so. It can be done. So India is way far as having a complete shutdown of information. As you mentioned about UN's initiative, putting India into a list of human rights violator, so
that of course it is one of the 38 countries that have been placed under that list.
And that was not expected under the current circumstances. The kind of relationship India shares with the Western world, especially the United States of America for that matter, it is not. But still these things are emerging. Still earlier on there were reports about Indian atrocities in Indian held Kashmir, human rights atrocities highlighted by United Nations.
This is the second report, Sheraz, to be very frank.
Yes.
Last year also the 49-page report came out. And this year this is the second report that has come out.
We cannot say that you can mum the population or mute the resistance, but I think India is fueling that resistance rather than moving towards eliminating it, because within India the same voices, what they say is they are of the opinion that Modi should have left it alone, let it be, rather than committing such a drastic and radical initiative, he should have let the people of Kashmir be under the same status, under the
Exactly,
same...
and let them decide their fate, what they want to do with their lives. We've been joined by Altaf Hussain Wani, senior Kashmiri leader. Wani Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Wani Saab, 26th day of aggression on the hapless people of Indian occupied Kashmir. No access to medicine, no access to food, no access to hospitals, torture, beatings, electric shock, and much, much more that we don't even know because there's a media blackout in that region. Where is all this going?
Well, you see, it's unfortunate that we are discussing it again and again, and we have to discuss it. The way world has been mute, a spectator to this all happening, and no world power is condemning India. No world power is asking India to lift the siege. No world power is interfering to provide the people of Kashmir the humanitarian assistance which they need this time at the human catastrophes emerging in Kashmir. Unfortunately, India has been doing it since last 72 years, and more importantly, for the last 30 years, we have seen the way the Indian military, the Indian establishment, the Indian government has been dealing with the people of Kashmir. This total militarization, total militarized justice, and what not, the reports, as you were discussing, that there lots of reports came earlier, and even the Office of the Human Rights Commissioner issued reports and asked the Council to establish a commission of inquiry, but it was not established. And that shows the lack of will, political will, on behalf of the world powers, the world community. And that's why that encouraged the Indian government, that encouraged the Modi-led government to take such a step, the way they have locked down whole Kashmir, and this is, as you said, 26th day. I can express in this way. My father, 85 years old father is there, whom I used to call every day, but I don't know how he is. And I can't sleep for the nights because of I have the fears. What is happening to my father? Is he taking the medicines? Is he good? Whether he's alive or not. This is the situation with every Kashmiri, because 8 million people have been caged and they have no access to the medical facilities. They have no access to the essentials, and they have no access to the media or any of the communications around. And this is everywhere. Every mother is concerned about the whereabouts of their children because they are taken during night raids by the Indian force, and they don't know how they are. They are torturing people during this calm down, and we don't know how this is happening and what are the ramifications of that. But at the top of that, we don't see any international attention towards Kashmir. Although we could see, we are thankful to those people, those international personalities and the standard voices in India who have showed their concern on the situation. But at the end of the day, it is the political governments who decide the fates. But when it comes to Kashmir, they have altered all that human values for their economic benefits. They are looking for their economic benefits. But I must say that people of Kashmir will resist. This dark period will end. And the people who are not showing their concern, who are not supporting the people of Kashmir, who are not asking the government of India to end their repression, they will feel ashamed after a period of time, because the way they want to see the peace in the region. They want to see peace everywhere, but they don't want peace in Kashmir. They are not using their muscle to silence the government of India. They are not using their voices to ask the government of India to end this repression. So I think it's very unfortunate on the part of the political governments around the globe. They have not come to the rescue of the people of Kashmir. I must say that the government of Pakistan has to intensify its diplomatic efforts. They have done so far. Prime Minister is calling everywhere, and Prime Minister today also addressed the people and also wrote an article in the New York Times and did create an awareness around the globe and sensitize the world community about this. But I think the more intensive diplomacy is needed to make aware the people around the globe, especially the public around the globe, about what is happening in Kashmir.
All right, Wani sir, when you talk about a more intensified diplomatic effort by Pakistan, you yourself have talked about all the efforts that have been made by our Prime Minister. Also, our Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi is apprising all his foreign counterparts of what has been happening in India. But I mean, when you talk of intensifying diplomatic efforts, what exactly do you mean by that?
You see, we have seen the government of India after doing all this, putting the Kashmir under siege, then the Prime Minister of India moves around the globe and talks to the world leaders and says this we are going to do for the economic events of Kashmir. Kashmir is very calm. Kashmir is very, because he has an eye contact with the people. He's talking to them, and so is the Indian Foreign Minister. So I want our Foreign Minister should be around the globe, not staying in Islam, not calling only them. Meeting people personally, meeting them and sensitizing them that it is a very precarious situation for Pakistan also. Pakistan cannot afford to remain a silent spectator under these conditions. The situation the people of Kashmir are facing and the dangers which are the clouds which are on the LOC are happening. On that front, we think we have given the statements, we have sensitized, but I think that our whole of the Foreign Office, whole of the diplomacy, and all those people in Pakistan who know the history of Kashmir, who know the dynamics of this conflict, they should be around the globe. They should sensitize their communities. The people have their own constituencies around the globe. Our opposition leaders, all political parties should be on heels to sensitize the world.
All right, Vani sir, one more thing. The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he went to the G7, he talked to different world leaders. One thing he said that the Kashmir issue is a bilateral issue. I'd like to know your point of view on 2 or 3 things that were said there. He said it's a bilateral issue when it is no longer a bilateral issue. Secondly, even if it was a bilateral issue, India does not want to talk to Pakistan about the Kashmir issue. In fact, it is saying even something very strange. It is saying that the next talks that it will hold with Pakistan will be on the so-called, in inverted commas, Pakistan occupied Kashmir, when he refers to the Azad Jammu and Kashmir region. Under these circumstances, when on one hand the world body says, oh, Pakistan and India should talk together, but India is not willing to talk, how should Pakistan and the world body move forward? How much of a pressure can they exert? Also knowing the fact, Wani Saab, that there are economic implications that those countries have with India as well.
Well, that I know that the economic interests are there, but you see, at the same breath, the government of India, the Prime Minister of India, when they enacted Kashmir, when they abrogated all those constitutional governments, and when they bifurcated the state of Jammu and Kashmir, which they cannot do under the UN Security Council resolutions, they can't do under the bilateral agreements between India and Pakistan. And now, since they have done it, they used to say in past that Pakistan and India, we will talk it. We have a Shimla agreement and we have other agreements. We will resolve the Kashmir bilaterally. They were talking to the world. And when it comes to Pakistan, they were telling it's an internal matter of India. They were not talking. But at this point of time, we have the right, I think the government of Pakistan has the right to tell the world community where we are not going to abide by the Shimla agreement anymore. The Shimla agreement is no more there. So there is no line of control now there. It is ceasefire line. So ceasefire line has a different connotation and line of control has a different connotation. So I think we should also, the government of Pakistan should tell the international community if government of India is not abiding by the principles of the UN Charter, is not abiding by the UN Security Council resolutions on Kashmir, is not abiding by all those bilateral agreements which we have made and also including that of Kashmir. So we should also disassociate from those bilateral agreements and we go straight to the United Nations. The one thing which we did, we tried to with one thing in Security Council, but it should not be one time. We should, our Prime Minister will go to the General Assembly. He will speak out there, but one speech doesn't make any difference. Our Prime Ministers in past have been making these speeches. We have seen that in 2016 onwards, when the whole of the Kashmir was like this on the international media, our diplomacy did much to influence the international community to come forward. The two reports which the UN High Commissioner published, we did not see any movement on that. So these are the points which we have to take into account. Only when we have to move forward, we have to take the world along with us. We have to create those spaces. Pakistan has to create those spaces for its own people, for the people of Jammu and Kashmir at international level, at domestic level, so that we can speak more on that. We can ask the international community more to act on this. And also, as you know, the people in in Jammu and Kashmir, in India-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, in all the regions, they are up against arms. They want to resist it. They don't know how to resist now. The way the things that they have changed, the unarmed people, how will resist? They will come out. They will start an intifada, and Indian Army will start firing on them, killing on them, carrying a genocide. International watchdogs have already issued alerts on that it's going to be a genocide, it's going to be ethnic cleansing of people of Kashmir. So these things, we just not just the press releases, just anything else. We will have to go to the capitals to sensitize those foreign officers, those policy makers in those capitals that this is going to happen. We cannot remain the silent spectators. We cannot. We are not the only ones who will remain obligatory to those bilateral agreements. So that much we can do.
All right, thank you very much, Altaf Hussain Wani Saab, Senior Kashmiri Leader. Altaf Hussain Wani giving us a very frank opinion on what is happening in Indian occupied Kashmir and what needs to be done by the world body. We've been joined by Brigadier Tipu Sultan, Senior Analyst. Brigadier Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Brigadier Saab, I just talked to Altaf Hussain Wani and he said that Pakistan needs to intensify its effort to sensitize the world about what is happening in Indian occupied Kashmir. My question to you is, doesn't the world know what is happening in Indian occupied Kashmir?
Yeah, they do know what is happening in occupied Kashmir, but it is not on their agenda and priority because they have got their own flow. The international establishment have got their own flow. They have their own agenda. They have interest in India. They want to look the other way. They are so surprising that Mukhtara Mai was just one person, and the entire Western media was yelling from morning till evening. Although she was dealt with very properly and given justice in Pakistan, and over here in Kashmir, thousands of women are being discredited, raped, killed. Women and children are blinded, and there's so much of atrocities in this 21st century that the West turns a blind eye to that. I think what we need to do is that, of course, we have to engage the international community on this subject. But I think the steps that Pakistan needs to take are more important than anything else. Because it will directly affect the Indians, the Kashmir situation directly affects the public over there. They are in distress and they need to be rescued from Hindu hooligans and terrorists who have let loose a reign of terror in the valley. And I think what we should do is that we should close our airspace to Indians. We should stop the trade. We should stop the transit route to Afghanistan that the Indians are doing. And we can expedite the case of Kalmotion Yadav. And we should say that we are under a grave threat from the Indians. They have a doctrine. They have a habit of crossing over the borders and attacking us. And we need to take safety measures. And it is important for the security of Pakistan that these measures must be taken. What I think is that only the values and the statements won't work. You've got to take some practical steps. And the irony is that the Hindu terrorists have let loose a reign of terror in Kashmir. And if Pakistan wants to rescue them, the world joined the Indian force of putting the Kashmir freedom struggle into terrorism basket. यहाँ तो उल्टी गंगा जो है वो बहती है, जैसे आप कह सकते हैं. So, मेरे ख्याल में what happens is that since the situation is so bad, it is an emergency situation. I agree with Prime Minister Imran Khan when he tells the international community that the situation is very grave, and if you turn a blind eye to the situation, it can result into a catastrophic situation. We have seen in the past that when the position becomes untenable for India and Kashmir, they attack Pakistan and they open up some front and they do something which diverts the attention of the world.
What the government has been talking about, the false flag operation. Our Prime Minister has said this time and again. Shah Mahmood Qureshi Sahib has also talked about the false flag operation that India might undertake to divert the attention of what is happening in Indian occupied Kashmir. If that happens, I mean, the situation is going to get much worse. What's your opinion on that?
Well, we have authentic reports on that they're contemplating a fast flag operations to align Pakistan and to take some punitive measures in whatever they think. I think this time what is going to happen is I think Prime Minister Imran Khan is determined to give them a befitting reply, and it can escalate beyond proportions. Once the war starts, it is the dynamics of war are so uncertain and so ambivalent, so hazy that nobody can control it, and the type of arsenals that both countries have got can damage both countries beyond any imagination. So, what I think is that we should not be blackmailed into this that there will be a nuclear war. There are so many measures short of a nuclear threshold that we can take. Our conventional forces are very capable. I think these steps can be taken. I think we should try and effort and so that the people in the valley are rescued from the Hindu hooligans. That is the top priority. And I think Pakistan should, in an emergency condition, tell the world that it is over, your efforts are not enough, and that the people over there are suffering. It's a human catastrophe. You're turning a blind eye to it, and then don't blame because you spend millions and billions of dollars in India, which is going to be at stake and destroyed. And I think Pakistan should be prepared. Pakistan should be prepared for any eventuality. Pakistan should not shy away from war. Pakistan should not shy away from fighting. Pakistan should not shy away from any action that Pakistan as a state can take for its security and for the security of our brothers and sisters in Kashmir. Occupy Kashmir, that is what I am talking about.
Thank you very much, Brigadier Tipu Sultan, Senior Analyst, Brigadier Tipu Sultan, giving us his point of view on the situation that has arisen in Indian occupied Kashmir since the 5th of August when the Article 370 was abrogated. Now, Sheraz, let's come to the different points that have been discussed with Altaf and Wani and Brigadier Tipu Sultan, sensitizing the world. We can only sensitize or inform or tell the people around the world to do more as far as what is happening in Indian occupied Kashmir is concerned. But until and unless they do not take the initiative, we cannot like force pump them to do anything. But how can the world body realize the implications of a devastation that might happen once curfew is lifted, if a false flag operation happens in Azad Jammu and Kashmir, as there are reports of that happening, and of course the reaction that will come from Pakistan?
To be honest and to be clear, that's the only option left, as both of the experts were eventually, pointing towards one thing, because unfortunately we have not been preparing for the Kashmir war, and now under the circumstances we are stuck between the devil and the deep sea.
Deep blue sea, yes.
So that is something which we have to, we now have to take a decision. We have to come up with, because international community will not come to the scene unless until you make the circumstances so dire.
But India has already made those circumstances.
The world community thinks. Look at the US President Trump's response. Both of them can deal. We don't have to, come in between. Both are my good friends, and it's a good thing. Both can deal with this issue bilaterally. Earlier from, moving away from his earlier position. So it means that international community thinks that there is no serious concern, there is no serious situation or they can't be in the calculation which exists, that prevails within the powerhouses is of the opinion that probably no such serious action or reaction will take place within between the two countries own Kashmir. So that's what is existing and prevailing. The calculation, calculation can be a miscalculation. Nobody is saying it can't be, but the calculation at the moment is everything is under control. The same sentence said by Mr. Prime Minister of India, Modi, to US President Donald J. Trump, that everything is under control. So we have to show the world. I don't know.
But what I don't understand, Sheraz, let's be very blunt. I mean, the world body says, oh, everything is under control. Don't they have the intelligence services when they can pinpoint anything that happens around the world through their different satellites that they have?
The calculation is about the reaction which the countries can take. It's not about the situation in Kashmir. The situation in Kashmir is quite clear to them. They have raised their concern regarding the human rights situation in Kashmir, but not the issue Kashmir itself. It's an issue of self-determination. It's an issue of basic human rights.
Exactly. Basically, at the core of it, it's a human rights issue.
They are not talking about that. They are talking about human rights violation committed by India in probably their own territory. So that is the message emanating from the Western world.
All right, let's kind of extend that to our next guest on the phone. He is Burhan Ul, former ambassador. Burhan Ul Sahab, thank you very much to have joined us. Burhan Ul Sahab, the efforts that Pakistan has done on the international fora, at different fora, to apprise the world leaders about what is happening in Indian occupied Kashmir. When I talked to my previous guests, they said it wasn't enough. We need to intensify our efforts. We need to sensitize more leaders about it. Have we not been doing enough?
I think Pakistan and Prime Minister and the Foreign Ministry, they're doing a good job. I mean, under the circumstances, what else you expect them to do? They have taken up the matter with the United Nations Security Council. Council discussed the matter and did not give a proper formal response, but at least it was on the agenda, and they listened to the views of the member states, and due to disagreement among the permanent members, they could not give a formal response. This is sad part of it. Then Imran Khan is talking a number of head of states around the world. He had a couple of telephone calls with the president of United States, and then also thinking of sending delegations abroad. And then in the General Assembly, Imran is going to make a comprehensive speech there, where I'm sure all the heads of states and government will be directly listening to Imran Khan. And then today, a lovely piece of his article has come on the New York Times, very nicely highlighting as to what India and Modi is doing. Hindutva, trying to massacre the Muslims in Kashmir by that constitutional changes, first of all, then keeping the people of Kashmir sort of in the prison by imposing curfew for 30 days almost. So that sort of thing. And then Foreign Ministry, of course, has set up a Kashmir cell. I'm sure they will be nominating a gentleman with knowledge of the area and the issues to work as what you call a special envoy to coordinate all the efforts of the government. Of course, National Assembly, its committee, chairman of the Kashmir Committee, he will be doing his own work, and Kashmir Committee also be doing. But this coordination role by a special envoy and his visits to all the countries of the world immediately to start with to the Security Council members will be very important, and we are looking forward to that decision by the government as to nominate somebody competent with knowledge of the issues.
All right, Burhan Ul Sahab, now for the moment, Indian occupied Kashmir is under curfew. There is a curfew since the 5th of August this year. What will happen when the curfew is lifted and the bubble bursts and the people come out on the streets? And we also hear that Narendra Modi's government has accused Indian Muslims of backing Pakistan, if the Modi government is so unsure about its own people, the whole people who voted to stay in India and not be coming to Pakistan, then how can a government lead its country through terror?
Yes, it is clear that the reign of terror has started, and they want to exercise brute force to change the opinion of people. It never happens in the world. How can you, by force, try to influence the views and opinions of people? They are Muslims. They have their own, culture and old way of living. They had got that arrangement with Indian Federation, Article 3370 and 35A, although Pakistan government doesn't, or never Pakistani leadership accepted that. But whatever it was, at least it ensured a special status for the people of Kashmir,
Exactly.
and especially in the context of the other Indian population to go and settle that. It was stopping that kind of influence or sort of the demographic action towards imbalancing the demographic arrangement in Kashmir. Now, to answer your question, they are definitely thinking of exercising brute force when the curfew is imposed. The people will definitely come to the streets, and the way they have gone prepared with 900, almost 1,000 troops, they will be opening fire on people, unarmed people, and there will be massacre. And we have a fear that, you remember in Bosnia, that Srebrenica sort of massacre that we saw, the ethnic cleansing. People are fearing that might happen there. So international community cannot keep its eyes closed and its mouth mum. The international community must respond to the situation. We are surprised that the international community even saying that it is possibly in India's internal affairs. How it is internal affairs? UN
I
Security
totally
Council.
agree with you. I totally agree with you, Burhan Ul Islam sir. But one more thing, you talked about Bosnia Herzegovina, what happened there. Prime Minister Imran Khan, when he addressed the nation some time back, he also talked about Bosnia. He said, in the context of the world body or the Islamic countries not reacting the way they need to. He said, even in the case of Bosnia Herzegovina, the Muslim countries did not react as quickly as they had to, but they eventually did. Do you feel, Burhan Ul Islam Sahab, that the Muslim world, the Arab countries, the African countries, and other countries that have remained mum for the moment, or haven't been that forceful in enforcing their points of views as far as this situation in Indian occupied Kashmir is concerned, will they also come forward in the days to come?
We have to, as the government is planning and trying its best to make a convincing case to the international community to see itself and understand itself, it will take a time. But unfortunately, we see double standards in the international community. When it comes to East Timor, Christian community in a Muslim country, they made a big case and hue and cry as if something so fundamentally wrong happening there, and so much of specter they created, and the gathered support from all parts, international organizations and human rights organizations, and then finally they got that country separate, disintegrated, Indonesia. Similarly, in Kosovo, we have seen, in Bosnia, they were not helping. Then South Sudan, the Muslim population and Christian, because the Christian community wanted a sort of freedom, and they all supported the Christian world. So this doesn't happen when it is Muslims in Kashmir. This is unfortunately double standard. We must condemn that, and we must try to tell the international community that, look, you have a responsibility, you have to be fair. I think Imran Khan is saying that, and in New York, the article in the New York Times today, he said all these things also.
Exactly, he did. Exactly. Thank you very much, Burhan Ul Islam Sahab, former Ambassador Burhan Ul Islam, also talking about this issue and giving us his point of view about the diplomatic efforts from the Pakistani side and what more needs to be done by the world body as well. Now, Sheraz, we've heard major people talk about the Indian occupied Kashmir situation. We've talked about the double standards of the world. We've talked about sensitizing the international world, body from the Pakistani side is concerned, more intensified efforts from the Pakistani side, the false flag operation in Azad Jammu and Kashmir, and the article, of course, our Prime Minister wrote in the New York Times that you talked about in the very beginning as well. Will there be, as Imran Khan Saab says, is my last question to you, bloodbath in Kashmir once the curfew is no longer imposed? Do you fear more massacre? Do you fear more bloodshed, as has been indicated by our Prime Minister in the New York Times article?
Yes, there can be fear of the people who are not living in Indian occupied Kashmir, for them. But the people living in Indian occupied Kashmir are now beyond that fear.
All right.
That should be clearly said. There are certain points I would like to raise over
Please.
there. First, the role played by the Foreign Office. I think they can do 90% more.
All right.
We have to behave like as Pakistan is being physically occupied by India. That's the way we should respond to this, what is happening in Indian occupied Kashmir. That's the only way. I don't think so we have touched that level as yet. So that is one thing. Secondly, Kashmir can only become Bosnia-Herzegovina if Pakistan lets it to become. Otherwise, it can never become, because Kashmir has Pakistan, which is a nuclear-armed state, fifth population in terms of population, So and then 6th to 7th in terms of military.
All right.
So we are here for the Kashmiris. So Kashmir can never become Bosnia-Herzegovina, first of all. So secondly, what can be the efforts done so far? These are very initial efforts. We have to go beyond. These things have been repeating, because earlier on I was talking to one of the retired generals and defense analyst, and he was of the opinion, I asked him about the fact that UN gives you the right to go for armed struggle, if you are under suppression, under occupation of another force or another big country. They give you the right. So we have to go beyond diplomatic, political and moral support, because that has not done anything for the Kashmir issue so far. Kashmiris have been doing their, fighting their struggle peacefully and, in a very political manner. They have kept it alive, and they will, even if they are, not having any kind of assistance, but they will, because it's their right by birth. You cannot kill movements. You cannot alter their resolution or their paths, so there is a difference over here. They will continue even if there is no Kashmiri left in Kashmir. This movement will continue. But as on part of Pakistan, I would say, as I said earlier, we were probably not prepared for the war in Kashmir. So we have to come up with war measures over here. We have to have diplomacy at the warring forefront, which we are yet to see.
All right. Thank you very much, Mohammad, Sheraz, and thank you very much to my three guests that came on the telephone, Altaf, Hussain, Wani Saab, Burhan Ul Saab, and also Brigadier Tipu Sultan Saab, who gave us their very important point of views on the situation in Indian occupied Kashmir. Now, there's one thing that I'll take from what Mohammad Sheraz said: you cannot kill movements. This is a movement for the rights of the people of occupied Kashmir that has been going on, and despite whatever abrogation or suppression that the Indian government might try, the people of Indian occupied Kashmir will inshallah succeed in their endeavors. But as our Prime Minister Imran Khan also said in the New York Times today, and I quote, he fears bloodbath in Kashmir. He calls on the international community not to ignore the situation in Indian occupied Kashmir, and he wants the world to see the Kashmir crisis beyond the business interest, because after all, we are, Pakistan as well as India, two nuclear armed states. I hope the world body understands, listens and reacts appropriately to all of this. So, Khalid bids you farewell from this episode of Dialogue. Take care of yourselves, and Allah Hafiz.